get them. Every time I see those guys, I get them a drink. And then the lady looked at us and we just showed her our bands. It was like, we got the like unlimited shit, so don't worry about him. And she was like, oh no, if he wants to spend his money, that's perfectly fine. What are you drinking? It's like, I guess so. But all right.
Well, that shows how aggravating he was. If she's like, I'll just take his money.
Yeah.
that was the only thing she got. Her. She's like, I need something out of this. At least I know that I'm making him pay for drinks that could really be free.
Mm.
Do you feel ashamed to be from America now from your trip?
I even
That's why-
I was like, man, I'm
That's why
sorry you gotta
everyone
deal with
hates
that shit.
Americans.
Like,
Like all around the world, like because like it seems like every American, like not every American, but it's I guess the majority of us who go out the country, like are just dicks.
Keith was probably like, I'm from Haiti. He was
I
just
feel like
claiming
Americans are
something.
probably more of a dick when they leave America than when they're actually in America.
Well, like Boston, I remember a lot of things being loud. Like I
yeah,
think
it
it's
was
partly
extreme
that, and
loud.
it just stands out way more because you're like a mixed group, and you're like, oh, this guy is just. Yeah, I remember seeing this normally. Like the mask guy, you would expect happening.
Mm.
Live.
Oh, we were doing this live. Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah. No mistake.
Anything you need to filter out your room now, Gaines?
Filter out my room.
Yeah, I don't know. You sounded nervous.
I mean, my green screen isn't ready. It'll take all of 2 seconds to set it back up.
All right, all right.
No, Terry.
Big money.
I mean,
I do not have
You
an
ain't spent that
Elgato green screen.
$4,000 on that Elgato green screen, huh?
I have that thing that slides over your chair. It's a big circle, but it works amazing. Yeah, I just used it today. You would have never known it was like a $20 circle that just latches onto my chair. Or it could be a $300 Elgato one down in the floor. Who knows? I'll let Keith decide. Abu Dhabi, man. All right, let's rock. Let's get this thing going.
All right. What's going on, everybody? It's Almost in Full Color Podcast crew. We are back. I'm here with the founders of the channel. We've got Roger with us, Terry with us, Gaines with us. Gentlemen, how goes it?
It's going. It's going
Founders.
great.
Well, it is the most wonderful time of the year. And I was going to sing that in, but since we're live and we can't edit that, I'm not going to.
well,
But-
welcome to sing it in. Go ahead.
Nah, I'm not going to do that just yet. But
just
it is
okay.
E3 time frame, and this is Christmas before Christmas to me because, well, you get to kind of see what's coming out at the end of the year, and, well, for the most part, you'll get to know. But we'll touch on that later. For now, a few other things we'll talk about while we ease into the main entree, which will be E3. But first and foremost, wanted to touch on Outriders for a second. We've all played it, and I've seen like a lot of mixed feelings about the game itself in terms of the delivery of patches and things of that nature. So, Terry, do you believe a looter shooter has to be a live service model? Like, does it have to? If you're that brand of game, I guess, does being live service have to come with that? Or could you do it and not be a live service type deal?
Actually came out with more. I would say there is no content at this game. I feel like we're not going to get any. But I think there's, especially for a looter shooter of this magnitude, I feel like we need updates. But Stadia took patch 1.
Stadia's on like the backest burner, so I wouldn't judge
I
it
would
off
say, did they
Stadia's
patch?
patches.
I don't even know if they patched Stadia.
Well, Stadia is patched. It's just the only thing is they haven't turned on crossplay. So Stadia is running on the same patch. It's just not, they didn't cut on crossplay for whatever reason.
A game like this, I mean, it's more of you spend your dollars, you play through the story. If you want to play through the expedition, essentially, after the story, you don't have to put. Like, there's no. I feel like they have to put.
I mean, yeah, as Terry said, like if they would put out DLC or something, I guess they would just add extra expeditions, similar to the Eye of the Storm, or maybe just some, maybe like 3 or 4 expeditions, and then kind of like a quote unquote raid, kind of like Eye of the Storm, or a very difficult expedition, I guess. But I feel like just with the like super rocky rollout they had regarding like so many bugs, like the inventory delete, or the inventory wipe bug, like which was a major bug, and then all the other stuff like the game just constantly skipping, like I mean, you name it, jumping when you do the little dodge that disappear, the phantom dodge or whatever, and your hair floats. Like if you don't wear your helmet, your hair just floats every time you die. Like it was just so many things like buggy about that game. The map was atrocious. There was no map pretty much. But and then I mean their player base dropped off like drastically. Like they're talking like there's really not too many active players on Outriders anymore. Like maybe a few, like we're talking like in the tens of thousands is left actually playing the game. So I don't feel like they'll probably release any DLC. And I think we were talking about it earlier. I think Roger said like that apparently they didn't even expect these many people to play the game. Like I guess when it launched, like they didn't expect that level of interest in their game, which is an odd thing to say as a developer. Like you would think when you're making a game, you're like, man, everyone's gonna love this game. Like so many people gonna want to play it, and they were like, I guess nah. Like, like we think it's okay. Like, people may play this, but it shouldn't be like a Halo or a Call of Duty or a Destiny. And it was at first, but now I guess everybody's kind of left it behind because of all the issues they had at the beginning.
So I guess you see a game like Anthem, right? And it's coming out of the BioWare camp. So I mean, you gotta imagine, it probably was gonna be received real well and all that. And they probably requested money for future DLCs or whatever, and the game just gets absolutely shit on, rightfully so. But I mean, you kind of see it go through that. Rogers are very like short-sighted from the People Can Fly dev team to like, I guess, I know we always say like, oh, DLC kind of like sucks because they kind of give you 80% of the game and then they say, oh, this other 20% was just DLC, but it was already kind of pre-planned, and then they roll it out to you. I guess for them, was it short-sighted of them to, I guess, like not have faith in their game, I guess, in a sense? Like,
Yeah, it was a weird blend they did here because they didn't seem like they wanted to continue. And I know there were some articles that I quoted Terry, where we saw like someone said they didn't want people to spend like 300 hours like in most other looter shooters. But this is the longest shooter I ever played. I don't play many of them. And it feels like it's impossible there. DLC would help here because, like I said, I think the player falling off is due to, like Terry mentioned, as like the story. Like once you beat it, you kind of do expeditions, and then you realize, well, I can grind 40 hours for these 2 mods that I just really need, and hope they drop. So that kind of deters people, and then it's like, well, all I have left is Eye of the Storm, and I know that's where Terry and I is trying to get to. It's just like we kind of just want to beat that and then kind of wrap up the game. Like there's not much else to do unless you really like building all the characters up. But I would say that's a very unique market there. I'm definitely not in that. I'm like, I got my one character. I'm good.
It's weird because, like you said, like they said they didn't want it to be one of those games where people spend hundreds of hours, like those type of looter shooters. But it feels like the lack of content actually made it that.
Yeah.
Like
and the
play,
drop rates.
yeah, like players didn't have anything else to do. Like once you beat the story, and you, like you say, even if you beat the Eye of the Storm, or if you're just kind of stuck at that point to where you're grinding level 15 expeditions because you can't beat Eye of the Storm or whatever, it's like you have nothing else to do except for, I'm just gonna keep running this stuff. Hopefully I get some gold drops. Hopefully I get the mods I want. Hopefully I get not only the mods but the good roll of armor, so I get the actual status perks, on the armor that I need or on the gun that I need. So
Then you need the firepower on the gun on top of all that.
yeah,
It's
so it's like if you get the armor drop and say you got an anomaly build, you're like, oh, I really wanted that piece of armor. Oh shoot, that one's not anomaly power. Like that one's, bonus firepower or whatever. So you're like, oh crap, I can't really use that one. I need the one that has anomaly. So, gotta keep grinding. Like, I guess the lack of content turned it into what they what they didn't want it to be.
So I think DLC would, like, if they did come back with that, that would probably bring me back. It would depend the amount of grinding on it, top of it, but that would at least go with the story because the story wasn't bad. All say, I thought they had a good concept and it seemed like it could continue. So
For a game that they don't want to grind, min maxing in the game is the ultimate. Hey, don't put 300 hours into get nothing else after that.
And to wrap this up, to bring it all full circle, Gains. Ever since Destiny 2, many have come for the crown. Or Destiny, should I say. Many have come for the crown. We've had Anthem come for the crown. We've had Division come for the crown. We've had now Outriders, Godfall just flared out bad. Many have come for that crown, as with the Battle Royale with Fortnite. Many have come for that Battle Royale crown. Do you think this would be kind of like the death of the looter shooter outside of like Borderlands is like its own like weird thing. So outside of Borderlands was probably the only other like hyper successful looter shooter, but that's kind of different to me. Do you see like this attempt with Outriders scaring publishers off from wanting to do this whole looter shooter thing?
I wouldn't say so. I mean, honestly, it was what you want it to be. Like it released to a lot of interest. Like we had a ton of people playing this game from day one. I mean, there were so many people playing that you couldn't play, if that even makes sense. Um, so as a publisher, that would be actually encouraging to me because I know the market really wants this. The only issue was the product that they got wasn't finished. It wasn't ready for that level of demand, that level of interest from the market. So it's like, well, if you have a buggy game, if you don't have much content to where, there's no PvP, there's pretty much just a story and a couple strikes, I guess, to use Destiny terminology at the end of it, that you can kind of play together with, if you can even play together, because they really touted crossplay. And I mean, for Stadia, we don't even have crossplay yet, but I know it even took a while for PC and console to finally marry up. And now, Roger and Terry and guys can play together from PC and console. So it just felt like it took so long to get to where they promised, even though they haven't even got there yet, that the player base left. That they're probably like, this is what we want, but we're not going to get it from you. And we're tired of waiting. You know what? Maybe the next one, maybe the next, dev team or whatever will actually be able to deliver on everything that they promised, from the get go, or at least get it out there a lot faster than they did. Because I mean, they've been working on this game for what, 2 months now? I mean, there's still like bugs and everything. So it just looks like they kind of bit off more than they can chew, I guess.
at the No Man's Sky now.
Nah.
And just hope they can bring people back a year later.
I feel like you can't bring people back to games like this. I feel like these type of games, like if you lose people, you just lose them. Like No Man's Sky, I guess, was like one of those ones. I guess since it was more of a solo, even though it was supposed to be like a everyone together thing, I guess it was easier. I don't know. Then they were giving away a lot of stuff for free. So maybe if Outriders came out with like free DLC and actual what was it, appreciation package or something that was actually actually relevant and not not by the time they gave it to you, it was such weak gear that it was like, what am I supposed to do with this? Like I don't know. I've never
Oh, that's
seen
the strongest gun for me, is that stuff in there.
really.
Yep, you had to update them all.
Oh, okay. So see, why would you? It's just they made you work to make it work. They're like, yeah, we're sorry that we screwed you up and had these bad bugs. Use your shit to upgrade this now. It's like,
I love looter shooters. I was hoping Godfall would have been hoping that kind of would brought it back, but it's still, I feel like Destiny and
I want to play Godfall when it goes on discount, obviously, but I think Terry and I got messed up with playing it on PC. I do want to try when it's cheaper. Like, I won't do that, but I think it'd be interesting to try it on controller.
yeah, it's definitely not a. But hopefully they do something with this. If not, I mean, I don't know if it's too. Looter shooters are still
And I hope anyone watching doesn't take this as Outriders is a terrible game. It's actually a very fun game, but however, it comes with some issues that kind of make it the experience a little less enjoyable than what you feel like it has a potential to be. But with that being said, we'll leave Outriders alone for now and pick on some other people. Now, for those who don't know, I play a lot of fighting games and went to try to get back into tournaments. And upon kind of looking into how to get into some of them, I came across the Street Fighter 5. Currently, they're doing a crazy tournament right now. It was supposed to happen last year with the 2020 Olympics. It was actually supposed to kick off the 2020 Olympics, and they had to postpone it because of COVID. So now it's begun once more, and the qualifiers are happening. But for grand finals, you have to get piss tested according to the rules. And it didn't exactly. Well, it did say there was the WADA list, which have a list of drugs on there which can't be in your system that are seen as performance enhancing drugs. Not many tournaments or organizers require drug tests, and there's a super divide on pretty much Adderall is the main drug that people seemingly abuse while competing in these tournaments. And I guess the question now is, well, one, if these things are to be seen as an esport, should drug testing be a thing that has to happen in order to compete? Or do you feel like these drugs don't necessarily give you a super edge over your competition?
I guess to start, I feel like the only reason this drug thing is coming up to where they kind of want people to take a piss test or whatever, is because obviously esports is being seen more as a legit sport, and I guess now they're trying to say that gamers are athletes, which is always a big argument of like, are golf players athletes or are they skilled?
Whoa,
Are NASCAR drivers athletes or are
Tack.
they skilled individuals?
Mm.
Things like that. But because for golf, it's not. I mean, it's more skilled than it is athletics. Like, you got guys out there 40, 50 years old, they can beat a 20, 30-year-old any day of the week because it's not based on like your physical fitness level or anything like that. Or your reaction is based on like hand-eye coordination and stuff like that. I think it was more of a skill. But I would say Adderall definitely will give you an advantage. I mean, there's Adderall use in the NFL. There's Adderall use in other sports that people would deem athletic in nature because it does help you like just have that laser focus, on what you're doing. So, I mean, granted, that would be great in football, but I could see it being even more useful in something like, gaming. Like to literally be just sitting there like zoned in on, whatever you're doing would definitely give you an advantage over somebody else. The biggest issue would be there's people who take Adderall for a reason. So it's like, what if you have a medical need for Adderall that you can't be an esport person?
I
Or
know
if you have
you could. If you
okay,
have a doctor's prescription
and
for it,
then
then you were good.
and that's
Okay.
my second point is that Adderall is not hard to get. Like you can go to almost any doctor and get a prescription for Adderall. I mean, it's almost like getting a prescription for antidepressants. Like the list of symptoms of those type of things, like you can get an antidepressant quick. Like I had panic attacks, they wanted to give me an antidepressant. It was like, oh yeah, it was like, oh, I'm good. They were like, oh no, we can give you this. I'm like, nah, I'm good. I don't want it. But you can get them. Like they're one of the number one most prescribed drugs in America. So I don't feel like it's hard to get them and get that doctor's note if you wanted to use it for, I guess, abusive purposes to be better. But as long as you're letting people in that has the medical use for it, it kind of sucks to try to like piss test everybody else because it's like either you use it or you don't. It's like letting people in football if they have a medical need for steroids. It's like, it's like, oh, he has a medical doctor's note for steroids. That means I can't use them. And I know he's fucking better because of the steroids. But yeah, so I don't know. I don't know how you would actually do it right, but I guess they'll try to figure it out and get hammered the process of trying to figure it out.
Yeah, I was about to say it's covered by ESPN now, so that's heavily why it's like it is looked at as a sport. And isn't colleges still like promoting like teams and stuff like that, or some of them were?
I don't
Yeah.
I
know.
remember they were starting to,
A
but
lot of
yeah,
colleges. No.
and they're just in the early days of it. I mean, this reminds me a lot of like MMA with the TRT stuff. That was a big deal. People were prescribed, and it was this weird hazy thing for a while. Where now
TRT is testosterone
Yeah.
replacement therapy. For anyone who doesn't know what TRT means.
So like that was allowed, and now it's kind of not, even if you were prescribed. So it's like they'll just have to draw lines. But I mean, if it's going to be taken seriously, they're going to start doing testing. I mean, that just part of being considered a sport nowadays. So
I would say the hyper focus that you're playing. Most games you're playing 13 rounds, 7 times. So it get pretty brutal. I feel like they'll probably eventually monitor exactly. Still now, people, of course, there's so many things on like computers that they can track it, but still, people are still trying to bots and
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, not only does it keep you laser focused, but it stops you from getting fatigued. You know, like you wouldn't have that normal of just damn, like this round 9, like if there's any normal fatigue that was set in from playing, like you don't get that when you're on Adderall. Like, it's just like it's like being on speed. So that's pretty much what Adderall is. It's like kind of like a form of what is it, methamphetamines? Is what they're called.
sure.
Yeah.
Okay. It's like a version of kind of like morphine is like derived from heroin, but Adderall is literally derived from like that speed drug. It's just like kind of dialed down a little bit.
Yeah, it's weird. I wonder. I imagine the drug testing came with they were supposed to open up for the Olympics, and I just imagine they probably just did that as okay. Well, you open up for the Olympics, even though we got pushed back. It probably was already set in the rule books. They just dialed it back by a year before they rolled it out. And the big argument basically was that if I'm taking Adderall, I'm not messing with the game at all. The game is still playing the same exact way. You know, I can't I'm not hindering this person's ability to play, so therefore I shouldn't be penalized for it.
I feel like that's
And
a
some
weird
people are saying that,
argument.
Yeah.
yeah, people
That's
say,
like
"Oh, I
saying,
took
I mean, I'm
Adderall."
taking steroids, but we're all wearing the same pads and helmet
Yeah.
and shoes. So, I mean,
Yeah, some people say, "Oh, you know, I took Adderall and it doesn't do anything, so I just don't believe that it does anything." And
but I still take it. I do continue to take it, but it gives me no advantages. It's pretty pointless, to be honest.
yeah, if these games or these individuals want to be seen kind of as some want to be seen as athletes, some really don't care about the title per se, but in the event, I think you want your game to really be seen as a heavy hitting esport and all that. I think keeping scandals away from it allows more sponsors to kind of come in and give money, which it's seemingly for fighting games at least is always a big struggle, is getting investors and people to come in for these big cash payouts and all that. And just a lot of people not feeling it's worth it to do some of these tournaments just because the amount of money that they would get from working a 9 to 5 versus going to this tournament and win or lose, however it works out, doesn't necessarily fit within their kind of life spectrum at that moment. So it's tough, but yeah, I think at some point this is probably going to open up for like MLG and all that stuff. I was kind of looking loosely, and it seems like they don't test either, and they get ridiculous payouts. Their cash prizes are crazy. I mean, granted, they're splitting between. I forgot how many people it is on the MLG team. Well, for most of them, it's like what, like 9 or something like that. I
Call of Duty League at 8. That's your 4 starters, and then that changes like.
aren't the Overwatch payouts pretty big too, or were theirs
They're
like
semi big. I mean, you got your 5 starters for Overwatch, and then, or is it 6, Roger? 5 or 6?
6 and
So,
back up.
yeah, so you got your 6, and then you got your. There's at least 10 people on the roster plus your coach. So
Okay.
yeah, I will say, but they're salaried though. Like they're set. The winnings that they get from the actual tournaments, that's just icing on top of the cake. Like they're already being
Oh.
paid like X amount of dollars for playing for however long they're contracted. I mean, and most of the time it's almost as close to 6 figures for the other contracts, but they're putting in at least 16-hour days every single day. So I guess it's just kind of stick with that as you would.
Well, overall, Adderall is bad unless you need it. Then take it if you need it. If you don't need it, don't take it. Also, my wife, who's a nurse, says the Adderall is bad for you. If you do not need it, please do not take it. It can cause heart attacks, strokes, and a bunch of other stuff.
Yeah, because it's
Speaking-
speed.
Yeah. So,
Literally
Was
so
this
for
speed.
those who are
conversation-
watching, don't take it unless you need it, because not good if you don't need it. But
Yep, lost key.
Yep.
PS5.
Oh,
PS,
that's
we'll
bad.
go with the PS5. I didn't know
No.
which way to work this. So, PlayStation 5 or
segue.
PlayStation says that they have 25 new IPs in develop, or not new IPs, but 25 IPs in development that should be rolling out within the next 2 years. With God of War getting pushed back, I'm just gonna say 3. So 25 new games over the next 3 years, and 12 of those are brand new IPs. With that being said, does this seem like if you were to tell someone they had to pick one console basically, and you had Xbox and you could talk about Game Pass or PlayStation, and pretty much these 25 games they plan on rolling out over the next 3 years, and 12 of them will be brand new, which one seemingly to you would be the better play?
I feel like the Game Pass added a lot of weight. Like,
Yeah.
because that would be
It-
me.
I-
If it wasn't Game Pass, it's just purely titles. I'm not sure at the moment. I do feel like I still like the PlayStation titles more, but I would go Game Pass.
Well, the question would be like,
Yeah.
you said they have 12 new IPs coming out of the 25. Are those 12 exclusive IPs? Because it can be a new
sorry,
IP.
this is all exclusive. All 25 of these games are
Okay.
exclusive. They are not going anywhere else.
Okay. And they're like, okay, so they're full exclusive. They're not like exclusive for like the first, because they got so many
Some of them
different
might be.
exclusives now.
Some of them
is
might
like
be.
for a month. Some of them is like, oh, it's exclusive because we have exclusive like content at the beginning, but yet they release at the same, like exclusive have gotten so muddy now that it's ridiculous. But to the question, if like Roger said, if you add Game Pass on, I would say the Xbox is the better console to have. And the only reason I say that is because a lot of games that's cross-platform on both consoles, like some of them they come straight to Game Pass day one. It's included, like Outriders was. So that's a $60 game that you already got for free. Every first party title Microsoft releases, it's going to be on Game Pass. All those when they bought like Bethesda and all those studios, they're all going to come to Game Pass. I'm playing Madden 21 now on Game Pass. I didn't have to buy it on Xbox because a bunch of EA titles are on Game Pass. Like, so yeah, PlayStation will have exclusive, but exclusives aren't going to fill your library. Like for the most part, the majority of somebody's library is usually going to be games that's on both platforms. Usually, those are usually the majority, and you can look. I can't say that about
Keep going. I'm
PS5.
just looking.
Yeah, I about to say I can't say that about PS5 because it's not like PlayStation has a ton of games out right now, so it might be a little bit more exclusive. But for the most part, most games are cross-platform. And as Microsoft keeps adding stuff to Game Pass, it just makes it more viable it's more cost efficient to get one. Now, because PlayStation has games like God of War and Final Fantasy. Well, Final Fantasy was a year exclusive title.
Yeah.
Xbox should have the Final Fantasy VII remake now.
They will
for
have
some-
integrate.
Yeah, they won't have integrate apparently. So, I mean,
Take
but
that what you will, I guess.
yeah. So I guess they'll have integrate next year. I don't know how that works, but yeah, I would say that the Game Pass is the better cost efficient model to go with. But PlayStation does have some exclusives that would make you want to get it. I mean, it's kind of weird because it's like flipped when people bought an Xbox back in the PS2 days just to get Halo. Like PlayStation 2 was out for a minute and everybody probably had a ton of games on PS2 because PS2 had a ton of games. And once Halo dropped, everybody was like, "Yo, I need an Xbox." Why? Because I need Halo. Like, what is you getting? Halo.
Yep.
Like, that's
Halo
all
carried
I
it.
want. Yeah, Halo 2 coming out. I need an Xbox. Like, please just get me Xbox for one game. So it's kind of like they switch positions. Except for PlayStation has a ton of games too. So it's not like they don't have a lot of games. They do.
All these exclusives will actually come out in the PlayStation. As of right now, have to get it.
I mean, it's just crazy. Like as it keeps building, like me and Roger were talking about the other day. Like, I mean, think about it. You get your online subscription built in. I mean, you get for like what, an extra few bucks a month, like an extra $7 a month or something. You get access to like 200 some games. Like immediately off break. And then once they add, because they're going to add xCloud for the consoles, you don't even have to download them to your console anymore. Like you could literally just stream them like you're playing Stadia. But the only difference is, like people say, if Stadia went away, where would your games go? You actually have a physical console sitting right there. So it's like you could just download them to the console. And if xCloud magically went away, you would still playing on your Xbox. Like they're
Can't
like
beat
literally, they took everybody's stuff and put it in one freaking thing. And you can even get the Xbox Series X included in Game Pass from GameStop for $25 a month to pay off your Series X. So it's like if you don't have $400 or $500 to throw down on the next gen console, it's like you can get all that for $25 a month, brother. Like, and there's no credit check. So it's not like you have good credit. They don't even care. They just like give it to them. Like,
Yeah, and that's why I
Xbox,
said the Game Pass was just a heavy thing to compare. It's like that's why I was trying to do like the exclusives only.
exclusive
But
Well, if you
PlayStation
did
crushing.
exclusives
Yeah.
only, then
Yeah,
Xbox would be dead in the water. So
yeah,
that
yeah,
wouldn't be a fun conversation at all.
yeah.
if it's exclusive, yes, PlayStation. As of right now, like I haven't really turned on my PlayStation except for update. That's about it. I don't think there's
I
really.
haven't turned on my PlayStation in a minute.
There's like nothing really out. I guess. Well, I guess was.
But
Yep.
once Ratchet and Clank come out, she
Yep.
will be fired up, ready
Ratchet
to
and
go.
Clank coming.
Yeah,
Or this coming week.
it's
Outside of
Friday.
that,
Yeah.
like nothing really out for play. Nothing that you really couldn't get on Xbox. Get it on your Xbox is most likely it's in the Game Pass.
Yeah, but
Why-
I
why
think
do that?
Xbox doesn't really have anything too new either. It's just that Game Pass just helps weigh all them cross-platform games and all.
yeah.
Like you
yeah.
you have 200 games immediately. Granted, some of them may be even old or just update it.
Yeah, I would go with the PlayStation just because. And but I mean, now you would have to pay for your cross-platform games, but ultimately, then you would have the ability to get one of or however many of these 25 games that are dropping. Which I'm guessing, Horizon Zero Dawn is in there, God of War is in there, some of your usual suspects. But with that being said, like 13 of these 25 games would have to be games that if you miss it, like you're missing out on like a gem. Like they would have to be that good. They would have to be
I
that
don't
God of
think they
War
will
type
be.
just to.
Nothing against
I think
PlayStation, but
I
it's
think
like,
God of War 2 will be,
I
or
mean, but
well,
that's not
that
nothing
one's
new.
weird.
That's not nothing new. Like we know God of
It's
War is a
not. I
heavy
mean,
hitter, but
yeah.
I'm talking about the 12 brand new IPs that
Oh, the
apparently
brand
are
new ones.
like, I would say maybe 15 to 20% of those might be like really great games.
We'll
Because
see. I
some of
mean,
them could be just those
Returnal.
small
Yeah,
indie titles that they're like only on
yeah,
PlayStation. It's like 6 hours worth of gameplay, but technically it's a brand new IP that's exclusive to us. I mean,
yeah,
look at the
man.
exclusive Stadia games; they were trash, but you can't get them nowhere else. So
Yeah, well, hopefully, of those 25 games, the majority of them are just out of this world great. At least the
hopefully so.
usual suspects, anyways. They'll put out a new Uncharted whenever that drops, and
And Grand Theft
Last
Auto
of
5 comes out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll be
Like,
buying
you
that
automatic
again.
So,
That's my Kingdom Hearts, so I have to
Yeah.
buy it.
Oh yeah, all Kingdom Hearts on the Game
Again,
Pass.
no.
You didn't play Kingdom
This
Hearts,
is
you
not
can
how
play
this
every one on
works.
Game Pass.
That's not it.
If you
It's-
if you
this
want to
is-
play the new Grand Theft Auto 5 when it comes out,
oh,
Game Pass.
this is Gaines's Final Fantasy 10.
Oh yeah, that's on Game Pass too. So it's Final Fantasy 12, Terry.
Hey,
That's
there
on
you
there.
go.
So it's 9, Keith. So it's 7, Keith.
I have
Both
not
of them, the
rebought.
new one and the old one.
So with God of War actually being spoken about, it got pushed back and to 2022 now, and basically it got said, and I feel like it was the scapegoat thing to. I don't know how it was
Oh,
in
that was
or how
super
it is in
scapegoat.
actuality, but basically it said, oh, God of War will come out 2022 and it'll be on PS4 as well.
Super.
So it kind of seemed like a little, oh, well, we had to push it back because the PS4 couldn't handle whatever it was that we were cooking up in the lab. So same thing happened with Gran Turismo 7. That also said, they'll have a PS4 version of it, and they may take an extra couple months or something to
Gran
push that
Turismo
out.
7 was supposed to be what, like 4K, 120
Oh my
FPS.
god!
I don't know how
Yeah.
that's gonna freaking happen, but that was
Yeah.
so.
But with that being said, at what point do you think they should let the PS4 go? At what point would you say it's okay? Just in general, like at what point we kind of know Xbox model is they're not letting go of their old gen. It's kind of supposed to be set up to where even if you have the last gen, you can still kind of play and stay with the group. Whereas PlayStation seemingly isn't going with that. So at what point should the death of the PS4 happen?
I mean, to be honest, I feel like this life cycle is going to be different than any of the other ones. But normally, I would say the old console latches on for like usually about 2 to 3 years into the new console's life cycle, just due to the fact that obviously, from a business standpoint, you want to wait until your customer base transitions over, to the new console. So I'm sure they know how many people purchased, the PlayStation 4, and they know how many people purchased PlayStation 5, and until there's enough PlayStation 5 units to get to about 70-80% of what PS4s are out there, it's probably when they'll start cutting off the PS4 entirely to say, like, okay, these next games only on PS5, to kind of put a kick in the butt of like the last 15-20% of people, like, well, you better get the new console now. But I feel like this year or this console generation is going to take even longer just due to the chip shortage. Like PlayStation and Microsoft have both came out and said that, like, or Sony and Microsoft both came out and said that they can't really make consoles to meet demand because of the chip shortage that's affecting not only them, but car manufacturers, like iPhones, the iPads, like everybody seems to be getting hit hard by this shortage. So until they get that squared away, PlayStation's probably like, look, we wanted God of War to be PS5 only, but you're not about to sell it to like 10% of our player base. Like, you better make this work on PS4 because we probably put a ton of money into this game. We need to recoup all that money and make money on a title like this. So they probably didn't expect to put it on PS4. And now they probably got that memo like, hey, yeah, figure out how to make this work. And they're like, oh, crap. Like, we didn't plan for this. I don't know what we're going to do. But so I feel like a lot of our heavy hitter titles, I mean, even Horizon Forbidden West, that's supposed to be on the PS4. So
Yeah.
I just hope that it doesn't pull from the PS5. Like, don't dumb down the PS5 version, but the only thing is, of course, they like them to be not close, but they want them both to be really good experiences, which I think always hinders the better console.
Or they can take the cyberpunk approach and just give you the crappy version with the older
Tyrell
one.
said that one was pretty good. He
No,
said he
well,
didn't notice anything when he was playing at 17 FPS. He probably just thought he was really focused. He probably was like, damn, yo, this shit moves so slow. Like, I am locked in.
Yeah, I about to say, I think it is what Gain said. It's not, the consoles ain't even spread out. I still follow the Twitter that's constantly doing, like, we finally got, Amazon has PS5s and they're still doing that a lot. So IPs are usually the first to leave, but yeah, these like quick release ones you usually tend to see to be on both, and you usually would see the reviews that they are like, Oh, on this one, it is lower quality, blah, 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 than if you bought the newer console. But support of the console, I was just looking it up. Like, don't forget, like, the PS2 had games coming out until, like, 2013, and the PS3 was released in '06. Like, sports games are always, like,
Yeah,
going to
sports
be
games
there.
do. Yeah, sports games do hang around on both consoles for quite a while.
Yeah, so it's like, it's a weird time, and with everything Gain said, it's just like not people are not getting it enough to even probably get the percentage high. I don't even know if I'm finding a percentage. I'd be curious to know there, but I'm pretty sure majority still have a PS4. So it's like, yeah, you have to make sure everyone gets it. It's just whenever the IPs will be time. Hopefully, maybe that's what they were hoping for like 2002 or 22. They were probably like, hey, maybe God of War we can put out just on the PS5 and do something like put some other port real quick for the PS4, and that'll be our last like IP worried about it or something. I hope that by 2022 we'll start seeing the PS5 only.
Yeah.
So this, everybody or most development of PS4 games, they probably just didn't expect it to be. Everybody's fighting for it. You sitting in queue for hours just to get a 5. It's gonna be a while for this.
Well, go ahead and get to the E3 business now. The best business, not really. But so I actually watched a trailer for a game and I was like super pumped for it. It's called Berserk Boy. It's a Mega Man inspired game, and for those who don't know, I play those all the time. So I saw it and I was like, "Oh, when is this coming out?" And then it said 2022 December. I was like, "Why are you showing me this?" So how early is it to show a game, or do you feel that showing a game isn't even about us per se? It may be for other wholehearted like investor type deals that they show these things off this early.
I hate it.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
not a fan
I
of
hate
it.
it as well.
Like you said at the end, though, it could be something we're not aware of that they do like reap benefits from. Like maybe it is getting more people to invest into the program, into the project, or something like that. Could be. I'm not aware of any of that type of stuff that happens, so it definitely could happen behind the scenes. Um, but yeah, from like someone who wants to buy the game, like it does suck to see something really good, and it's like you said, December of 2022, because you're like, it's not going to be December of 2022. It's going to be 2023, probably around April. That's usually just how it works.
Yeah.
So anytime they give you that end of year date, it's not that it's always going to be the following year. But yeah, I wish they wouldn't do it, but I guess sometimes they get away with it. I remember everybody was excited when they showed the Final Fantasy VII remake. We didn't get that for a while,
5 years.
but everybody,
Quite some time.
Yeah.
nobody
5
was
years.
upset. What, Kingdom Hearts 3? They
5
did the
years.
same thing. Yeah. I mean, I think it wore on Terry though. Terry was it did wear on Terry, but I don't feel like Final Fantasy VII wore on Keith.
Yeah, it
Like
did.
It didn't, but I think their stocks dropped really bad when it didn't come out. Like I think it's like the third year after it was shown. It was like 3 years later. I think their stocks dropped
I think
like pretty bad, and they
I think
related
people
it
thought
to
it was
that.
going to drop. Was it Final Fantasy VII's anniversary, or was it PlayStation's anniversary? It was one of them that people were saying, like, speculating it would, be ready by, and of course it wasn't. But granted, it turned out to be a great game. So, but I guess it depends on the game. But yeah, I wish that it was kind of like a limit. Like, if you're going to show a game, it better be at least 6 months in, or
Or 6
within.
months out is your
Yeah,
time.
like from this showing, I should see it in at least no more than 6 months. I mean, they don't do that with phones. You don't see like the brand new Samsung Galaxy in there, like it's May, you'll get it November. It's like, no, you better be releasing it like next week. Pre-orders better start like now. Like, don't show it to me if it's not ready. So, but
I about to say, I think it's like a subtle marketing thing. It does keep it in your head for a while because I'm thinking like Death Stranding, the confusion of that game for years of like what the crap is it going to be. We were talking about it every year and like waiting to see this Death Stranding game. I can't remember how long it was. So I think it does put it in your head, but it does get aggravating of like, man, this game looks awesome. And it's like, oh, it's a year and a half. And I do tend to forget a lot of times. So the next E3, I was like, this looks familiar. Why do I know this game? And then come find out, it's like, oh, that was shown last year. That's why.
Yeah, maybe we'll see Beyond Good and Evil again this year.
Oh, God, I forgot about it.
See?
Yeah.
The game's been shown for so many years.
So, yeah, what's your time limit, Roger?
Well, time limit, I'm with Gaines kind of. I could see like a year would be fine to me a little bit. Like,
A year isn't bad.
you have a E3 happens once a year, and that's where most people show, because I could see the loop. Like, okay, this is the only time I have to. Yeah, it sucks. It's coming 11 months down the road, but this is my platform, so I have to show it.
Mm.
So I would do that. But yeah, the continuing, and then always hate it. You don't see actual gameplay a lot of times. That makes it worse on me on them longer years.
Well, you see what happened when they show Halo gameplay? Y'all didn't freaking appreciate it. Never again. Never again.
I still feel like E3. Hey, we're gonna show this game off. Now investors come talk to us. I still think that's how it is when they show 5 years down the road. Actually, yeah. Like, hey, here's a base one. Like, all right, who wants to give us money? While they're sitting there generating the hype for all their influence, kind of come out and be like, all right, so this is a game that's coming out. Will you show off this game on your stream for us? Like, I feel like that's all E3 is starting to become now. Okay, here's a game. Now behind the scenes, let's have a meeting about this game. Talk about it. Let's see hype for it.
Yeah. Wasn't that what originally it was? Like, I don't think was like gamers allowed to go to E3s early on.
No, I think earlier
it
just
used
only
to be
press.
just press. Yeah,
Yeah, so
Then they
maybe it
opened up to
was.
everybody.
Press pad. That's how. But back then, that was the only way you could kind of get in for some sort of gamer, unless you were that was your way in. And it's kind of evolved a little bit. A lot of streamers that talk about like, yeah, E3 is cool and all, but it's mainly me going there for meeting in front of all these developers. I think that's
Okay.
Timestamp.
I'm okay with a year. If they show it off and it's like, all right, we're releasing it next year, but half the time in that year span, oh, we're gonna have to push this back due to development issues. Year 2, all right, we're gonna have to push it back again. You have another development issues, so I feel like a year is fine, but even still, in that year, a lot can happen. Even in 6 months, a lot can happen.
Yeah,
it's
a
a
whole
hard
writing
time for
team could walk out on you.
Yeah, within 4 months of it coming out.
Yeah, I would say like a year for me. I kind of would give it like the movie. I think movies was like a year. They normally will announce a movie and then it'll come out. I think big movies get like what, a year and a half. So somewhere in that I'm okay with, but
more of now, like movies, they say, hey, here's the poster board. 2 months later, we have a trailer. 5 months after that, now we have the movie. That's what it seems like movies.
Yeah. Some movies do have a much more rapid rollout, but the bigger ones, I think they give a longer period. Like I know basically all superhero movies, they get like a 9-month kind of rollout to build up to it, and then
I mean, you gotta think, man. It takes time to teach like raptors and dinosaurs how to drive cars. Like, you're not just gonna get big films like that right away, Keith.
Hey, stop leaking the next Fast and Furious movie, okay? Keep
I can't wait till they take down the T-Rex. You know who T-Rex can't beat, Terry? Family. He can't beat family. Bloody. Yes, God, I can't wait.
Vin Diesel brought back to the 4 times now.
He gonna block those T-Rex teeth with his forearm.
Oh my God. If there's a Fast and the Furious Crossroads 2 at E3, I'll lose it. I absolutely lose it.
I'm still waiting for
Fast.
Roger to review that game. He hasn't done it yet.
Yeah, Roger
I'm
never
just,
reviewed
I'm
it.
just waiting for them to bring the dinosaurs back to life by taking Dodge Chargers on every continent on the earth and putting an anchor in them and put marine engines in them and pull them together with the power of Mopar and form Pangea. And then the dinosaurs come back because Pangea was reborn like in ancient stories and mythology. And then that's when they have to race T-Rex. And he's in a
Oh,
Ford Raptor truck.
got a better one for you now. Add in
Yes.
The Rock wrestling. There
Mm.
you go. Yeah, he's all on about it now.
And where
Yeah.
Tyrese is very upset with you for that.
Uh,
So do you all think that with a lot of Sony already said, they're not going to E3. Nintendo is always a
Oh,
weird
so
thing.
Sony's not
They
going?
are.
They said
No.
Nintendo's
Oh, Nintendo. Okay, Nintendo will be there.
they're doing their Nintendo.
So it's although it's like lumped in with E3, they're really not. It's always so weird because it's like, oh, we're doing our Nintendo Direct thing, and it's like, yeah, it falls in the same week, but we're not gonna be like on your stage or whatever. Like Microsoft at least shows up to the stage. I think they're like the only ones who actually go there now. Well, I guess Ubi will have their thing, but I think theirs wasn't until late, or was it EA that's like next month? It's also very
Yeah.
weird this schedule, but I guess because of
I-
COVID and they try to space each other out. I don't really know why EA, or I think it's EA that's like next month. It's like July or something. It's very strange. But ultimately, with all these basically companies who can just hold a state of play, Nintendo Direct, or I think EA's is called EA Play or something like that. But
Yep.
with all these companies basically kind of doing their own thing, do you see like E3 getting ready to just crash and burn here within the next couple of years, or do you think it will have a place in some capacity in the future? Just has to be revamped or something.
I wouldn't say it would crash and burn just because there's like a lot of like smaller like little developers and publishers and stuff that do come to E3. Granted, I mean it's probably stuff that we don't watch because we're more
But-
like Microsoft, PlayStation. Well, maybe Roger.
I
Devolver
watched the
Digital.
Devolver Digital has the best ones all the time.
You
You don't even know what's happening
Their
half the
presentations are
time.
crazy.
I don't know what
I
is
could
happening.
do without it, but whatever. It
Yeah.
is crazy and weird, but it's nothing I look forward to. But I mean, I watch Microsoft, I watch Sony, and I watch Nintendo. That's what E3 is about for me. Bethesda, okay. Ubisoft, okay. EA, okay. Most time I feel like that their heavy hitter titles are going to get shown in either
At
Microsoft,
or
or
yeah.
Sony's. So
You're
it's
telling
like
me
they're
Just
not.
Dance isn't.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, I don't feel like it would crash and burn. I do feel like the allure would leave just because obviously if Microsoft leaves too, and you got Microsoft and Sony and then Nintendo kind of doing their own thing, and especially if they start doing it in a different time frame to where like even though they're not there, if Sony does it the same week, you're still mentally going to be like associating Sony with the week of E3, and you're still going to think it's like E3, but Sony's like, no, like we're not really with them at all. So if they even move it out of that week, I think that could take a lot of visibility off of it, just because I mean, I don't know how many people are looking at everything else outside of those ones, kind of like myself. But I don't know, maybe they might be able to keep it up. I don't know how much money goes into it from their end, or if it's just like everybody else kind of come in there and they kind of provide the stage and platform, and people pay to come to E3. I don't know how it works for publishers. I would
Yeah, I'll
assume
be
you pay.
curious how they do it this year, because I mean COVID obviously took a hit, where I do see it being more like Gaines was hinting at, is like this is a week of something. I don't even know if it'd be called E3, but it's almost like the gaming week, because it seemed like Nintendo always does their own thing that looks like they just shoot at their own place anyways. And now you're seeing Sony kind of doing a similar route, where it will probably be the week of game announcements and trailers and some celebration if they do that. I don't know if E3 is going to try a stage next year. It'll be interesting to see how that goes. But I feel like with the COVID thing, I feel like everybody made their own videos last year and stuff, and it felt to be fine. Like it seemed like it went along smoothly, and I didn't feel like nothing was there, and I didn't feel like the stage was that important to me because most of the time we were just there for that half-hour thing they already built anyways. That maybe you had that speaker guiding everything, but if they do the week, I think that would be helpful. Maybe coordinate it on a channel or something, but I think it would just be that would be suitable for me. But I don't know what all goes into E3 either, if it is investors thing and all. But if you can showcase like a lot more indie publishers now, because they don't really have to travel and just be sponsored on this like high volume channel, maybe for a lot smaller fee, that would be great instead of like we have to send 3 developers out and get time on the stage, and maybe we're not even on the big stage, we're on this little stage that doesn't even get shown, stuff like that.
Hire a team.
Yeah.
Like a Bungie sent out, I think they said 20 people to
Oh, and that's not even, that's a small chunk of their team.
yeah, I mean, yeah, but it's still like that's like a lot of people just kind of traveling to show off their game. You know, you got your people kind of talking about. I don't. I hope they can revamp it in some way. I mean, last year wasn't terrible, so kind of like sitting there and say, "Oh, all right, game's coming out." All sit in Discord or whatever we were doing and talk about whatever game was coming out. It still seems like it's handling its purpose, generating hype for something that's not. Hopefully, they can figure something out.
Yeah, probably next year will be their do or die. I imagine if they're able to do in person, and I do remember E3s. They, now granted we never got to go to one, but the crowd seemed really hyped when Microsoft would go, and they'd be like, "Everyone here, you'll get a copy of Halo 3, the Master Chief Edition, and here's a free year of Xbox Live." And be like, "Oh man, they do like tons of giveaways out there." So if they're able to do it in person and kind of keep that level of just hypeness up, I think then it'll be fine. But the thing I wonder if they will try it. There was blowback, so I don't know if they're gonna like try their hand at it again. But the allowing people to basically from home purchase an E3 pass and you get to demo a couple games that will be shown off on the floor. I actually didn't think it was a bad idea, but yet I guess people just were not happy about that whole thing. But in the event that they did that, I think that might actually be something that's kind of cool and a little more interactive and might be a way for them to recoup. Now, granted, with Sony and a bunch of people pulling out, you might not get to try some of the heavy hitter games, but you might get to try some cool stuff in there that you really wouldn't have taken a look at without trying it out. So
Yeah, I wonder if like kind of piggybacking off that like demo pass thing. I wonder if they would ever consider like maybe having like I don't know, maybe 10 people, 10, 20 people like at E3 that they kind of just get set up with a camera and you pay like maybe $10 or something like that. And we got VR headsets and stuff like that. You could just like wear your headset and while that person walks around, like you see like almost like a first person view of what they're doing. So they like go to the booths, they like go, the whole convention, like walking around almost kind of gives you like I guess like a virtual tour of everything
um
that's there. I feel like that would be
Devolver
pretty cool.
Digital put out the free thing last year, I think it was, that was you played a game that was a virtual convention and you
Mm,
walked around and watched clips and all, and it was okay. I mean, it took like an hour. Obviously you don't play it again, but that was like unique. I don't know if that would work too well. But I feel like that interaction was fun because they made it like a little game. You were a shooter and you shot little robots here and there, and then you went into the like Fall Guys section and you were able to watch a clip, see the Fall Guys people walk around. So that was kind of cool. The VR thing would be interesting. It would be just weird. Like I almost feel like you want the interaction part of it too.
mm. Yeah, I guess so.
but yeah, hopefully it does come back. I've enjoyed watching E3 for I don't even
Long
know how
time.
long I've been watching E3. To be honest with you, it's been quite some time. Back when G4 was like showing it, that's how I used to watch it show. So I don't I could put a timestamp on it, but I really enjoy watching them. And over the past couple years, I've also watched the PC showcases. So uh, that's now like a new thing. I know they're normally there as well. So we'll see this year what E3 has in store for us, which is right around the corner. Speaking of which, everyone watching, be sure to be on the lookout. Normally this week or couple weeks, Sony, Microsoft, Nintendo, they're normally marking stuff down. Year long stuff is normally getting marked down around this time. So if we catch something, we'll try to post it just to say, hey, this is being marked down, that's being marked down, and it's a good steal if we see it and if we're able to get to it fast enough before it runs out or whatever the case may be.
I'm able
But
to get to it fast enough to get mine before I get yours. I ain't gonna post it till I get mine. That's what Keith is saying. Like, whew, got mine in. All right. If any left, y'all should go check this out.
with that being said, we have made it to the end, to the almost in full color recommendations.
Mm.
Mixed
Mm.
review, mixed review.
No.
There's no
Well-
games out to recommend.
Who is recommending what game this podcast
I'm skipping.
episode?
I got nothing.
Just skip it.
I got no game.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I got no game today.
I can
Supposed to
start.
Travis.
So I would recommend a random old game that I saw a bunch of clips recently of and remembered how much I liked them. It's the good old Telltale game, the Walking Dead one. I remember that one being really cool. The character development, especially Clementine in that one, was awesome. It's usually on sale. It's like on every system. It's even on phones now. So it shouldn't be hard to find them. I was a big Telltale game person. I had to think how to say that. I like their games a lot. It did get repetitive once they were putting out a bunch, but the Amazon Prime games gave the Batman one, and that also helped me think about. I do miss them from time to time, and they are fun if you never played them. They are a good like couch relaxing kind of game to play, and just get basically watching a movie with a game, and you can interact and make choices that are pretty fun.
I guess the game I would recommend. I'm not gonna say it's a great game, but it's pretty interesting for what it is, although at times being frustrating. Which is Blue Fire. Blue Fire is currently a Stadia Pro game. It's a free Stadia Pro game for this month, but like Roger said, it's another one of those games. It's on Steam, it's on Nintendo Switch. I'm pretty sure it's probably on PlayStation and Xbox as well. It is actually a really good looking game and controls well for the most part. You do sometimes find yourself struggling with the camera. So if you've played any like 90s type games on the 64, those type games, you understand the battles of the camera. It's very Zelda influenced. Has a little bit of like Dark Souls in it, very, very small amount of Dark Souls, but most part it's Zelda and a lot of platforming, similar to a Celeste, but in 3D, if that makes sense. But it's a pretty good game. It's short, so if you're looking for something that's maybe like 10 hours worth of time, it's definitely a good game to check out. I'm not sure how much it costs on everything else on Switch and stuff like that. Like I said, it's free on Stadia Pro. If you're really interested, I mean, you can try that for free. So you wouldn't have to pay to play it, but it's a pretty good game. And it's about 8 to 10 hours worth of gameplay. So if you're looking for something to play in this dull moment of gaming, check it out.
The game I'll be recommending is Let It Die. You can get on the PS4, PS5, and on Steam.
Oh Lord.
It is very Demon Soulsy. I got introduced to the game through a friend of the channel, Tyrell, and he bet me $20 that I could not make it through 30 floors of this game. There are 40. He bet me I couldn't get to floor 30. and it took me 12 days to do so. But 2 of the days I raged so bad, I didn't play the game. It's very, very difficult. There are aspects of the game that will make you very upset, but clearing a floor is very satisfying. It is one of the best difficult games that once you clear a floor and you checkpointed that floor, you just feel really, really good. There's also a PvP aspect to it to where you can go invade someone else's base and you could take one of their people for ransom and put them on a toilet and they would have to pay the ransom to get them off the toilet. It's a very wild game, but
Yeah, it
very,
was
very, very
interesting.
fun. It's
Yeah,
a
that
very fun game, but and very hilarious. So if you but mental fortitude is the 2 words I urge you to have walking into this game because it is going to piss you off. I guarantee it.
I don't know if you said, is it still free or
Yeah, I believe it's free. I believe it's
okay?
free. It may not be on Steam. I don't know, but it is free on PlayStation 4 and PS5. I don't know about the Steam
I just
because
remember
I don't
Rel
play
and you
PC.
talking about that game a lot for that period.
Yes, and I won my money fair and square. I actually beat all 40 floors. Take that, Tyrell. And he gave me a gift card, only had $12 on it. Speaking of, I want the rest of my $8. I totally forgot about that until I brought it up.
On the phone right now.
But with that being said, that'll end it for this one. We'll be back sooner than later with probably some little E3 stuff to talk about whatever may come down from E3 and our feelings about that. But be sure to hit the notification button, subscription button, so that you can check that out when it drops on June 15th. With that being said, I think it was June 15th. Was that the day? I don't know. But if you hit the subscription button, notification button, you'll know. So like it'll be there. So just do that and then you'll see if it is June 15th. I don't know. We'll see. But as usual, peace, be easy, be blessed.